you watch any college football this weekend?
Sure did.
Yeah.
Yep.
Did you catch a couple snaps?
Got a couple.
Couple snaps.
Couple
All right.
snaps.
So then, the way that we're going to recap the football weekend, which, as we mentioned yesterday, nobody liked, we are going to run back through our burning questions and see how those ended up being answered. So, Pickle, what was our first question?
Our first question was, what chance do you give Rice to win its first Bayou bucket since 2010? And do you want me to say the final score there?
The answer is not much.
Yeah.
Not much of a chance. It was
44-7.
44-7. First of all, give a lot of credit to Houston. And by the way, if you're interested, as far as if you're into that win probability thing, which I always am, if you're into the win probability thing, this thing became fait accompli about halfway through the game. That's when things got very, very, very bad. Let's see if I can find the exact time. But anyway, it did not go great for them. First of all, let's talk about Houston.
Mm-hmm.
Houston's offense woke up in a big way.
Yeah.
49% of their plays were what you would call successful plays, which means that increased what we call their expected points average. They were really, really good offensively. They averaged nearly 6 yards a play. They had a really nice run pass split right at about 50%, 52% pass. I thought Clayton Tune was strong in this game. And look, the defense I think also came up with big plays. They were in the backfield. They were causing havoc. They came up with 4 sacks. A really, really impressive performance all around from Houston. So give a lot of credit to them. So for Rice, the defense
was just too much.
The defense got the defense was, I think, left on the field too long, and then also their offense just completely and totally 100% cratered. Luke McCaffrey was bad in this game. 9 of 17 for 86 yards, 2 interceptions. He was bad. They weren't able to run the ball. I mean, they were able to run the ball a fair amount. Like Kalen Griffin was probably their best player on the night. Jordan Myers had a nice day, decent day too. But overall, there was that. And then the defense just, I think, completely cratered.
And it almost
just couldn't
did
get
it
anything.
feel to you like they almost went in and looked scared? It was
a little bit of
that. It felt like they went out there and just kind of laid down.
A little bit of that. I will say that I didn't think that from the offensive line perspective. I don't know if Houston overwhelmed me or Rice overwhelmed me. I thought they were both kind of okay. Obviously, Houston came up with a couple of sacks, so there's something there. But I also think that overall, this is just not a good performance from Rice. So credit to Houston. They woke up in a big, big way and certainly
they got done what they needed
answered
to
any
get
questions
done.
that we had. But that was certainly something that I don't know if I was necessarily expecting that was for them to get
not
blown
that
out.
bad.
So a credit to Houston, certainly. What's next, Pickle?
Up next, we head to SMU and UNT. Who is this game more important to? The final score on that one, the Ponies 35 at UNT 12.
Is this the point where I just take Seth Luttrell to task? Seth Luttrell kicked 2 field goals within the 5-yard line, within the 6-yard line
it
of
was
SMU.
Within the 6,
to go up 6-0. Buddy, you don't win friends with salad, and you don't win football games with field goals, especially against SMU. I don't know what you're thinking. I don't know what they're thinking.
Especially not at their home stadium.
I just don't. I didn't understand that at all. I think if you were Sonny Dykes on the other side of on the other sideline, I think you were thrilled that he was kicking field goals. You're like, yes, awesome, fantastic. A really, really disappointing performance there, I thought, from Coach Luttrell. I thought that was disappointing. And by the way, the offense just never got close again. You know what I mean? Or by the time they got close again, it was over. And they were here's one of the problems I'm seeing with North Texas is their defense. Let's just say, for the sake of argument, I think their defense is a little bit better. Yes, a little bit. I don't think they're the worst defense in the nation, which is maybe what they were last year.
I was going to say it would be almost nearly impossible to get to be as bad or worse than they were last year.
Their offense has, in my opinion, very clearly taken a step back as far as explosiveness is concerned. And that's always been a hallmark for them. Now, give a lot of credit to SMU. SMU came out and they took it. I thought SMU played fine.
They weren't exceptional by any stretch.
I didn't think that they were spectacular. And by the way, this is one of those games where people are going to look at the box score and they're going to be like, oh, well, North Texas had 564 yards of total offense.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that their offense was, I don't want to say bad, but it was pretty pedestrian.
Yeah.
For while the game was at least in doubt. And I don't know. They've certainly lost a little bit of explosiveness. When you turn the ball, when you lose the turnover margin, that's not going to help either. Yeah, I was disappointed.
Someone
has
to put faith in one of those quarterbacks. It's like Craven was saying the other day. Pick one. And go with trust him. You can't have 500 yards of offense and score 12 points.
Well, they went with Jace Ruder, and Jace Ruder goes. I just don't think he was very good. I think he threw 2 interceptions. 365 yards. I mean, it's one of those things that it's weird to say that a guy who threw for 365 yards and a touchdown didn't have a great game, but I just didn't think he had a great game.
No.
I thought that the offense was pretty pedestrian. Give a lot of credit to Tanner Mordecai. 309 yards, 4 touchdowns receiving. Ulysses Bentley was awesome in this game.
Mm-hmm.
I think they've got a new number 1 target in Rashee Rice. I think he's a stud. Reggie Roberson, they were North Texas was pretty sure they weren't going to let Reggie Roberson beat him.
Mm-hmm.
He got targeted 6 times, so they went to Rashee Rice. They spread the ball around a little bit. It was impressive for SMU. So as far as who's more important to, North Texas certainly didn't play like it was important to them.
Nope.
What's next, Pickle?
Speaking of not playing like it's important to you, how worried should Texas fans be about the Horns going into a hostile environment? And the answer was quite concerned.
Very, very concerned. And I think that you saw that. I think
they got their pants pulled down.
I think you saw a team that got bullied up front, which I don't think they were expecting. Mm-hmm. They got absolutely dominated up front. And that was really, really interesting. Now, look, I think that the defensive line played okay. Like, if you're talking about, if you want to talk about places that they were okay, I think that the defensive line was okay for the most part. But they gave up a number of big explosive plays.
Mm-hmm.
And that ain't going to cut it. That was the thing. On balance, I think that the Texas defensive front did okay. But they also gave up like 9 big runs. And it's like, okay, well, that's not going to work. I don't know. It was a super disappointing, talk about fall back to earth, result, and it all comes back to what they did up front, especially on the offensive line. The offensive line was overmatched. Mm-hmm. Now, we can talk about the quarterback situation. I didn't think Hudson Card was good. He certainly didn't do anything to give them credit, but I think he was more or less helpless behind that offensive line. The offensive line got bullied. The offensive line got dominated.
And that's just really sad for them, because in that first game too, even though it was a well-rounded game and stuff, that offensive line, it was like, man, something doesn't look right here. And when you just have that freshman quarterback like that you can't
mm-hmm.
allow people to get back there.
Right. It was, I think, super disappointing. And again, like, I mean, look, it's one of those things that with Texas, I think if you told me after these 2 games they'd be 1-1,
mm-hmm.
I'd probably be like, yeah. I'd probably flip them.
I was going to say, I would definitely say, oh, look at the Raging Cajuns, and they bounced back against Arkansas.
I would have thought that. But I think that there's obviously still work to do, and especially up front. That offensive line's got to be better. Okay, what's next, Pickle?
Well, Ish gave you a solid-ish no on this question, and it proved to be true. Have expectations changed for UTEP after 2 games? And keep in mind, they were undefeated heading into this game against Boise. And
I don't want to be mean to our friend Dana Demmel. But they kicked a 33-yard field goal, and they kicked. They were at the 16, and then they kicked the one that drove me nuts. It was Boise State 10. This is the moment. There's 13:26 left in the second quarter.
Mm-hmm.
13:26 left in the second quarter. It's Boise State 10, UTEP 3.
Mm-hmm.
They are on it's 4th and goal at the Boise State 3. You are 25-point underdogs.
Mm-hmm.
And you kick
playing on the road.
You kick a 21-yard field goal. I'm sorry. That's you can't do that. You can't do that. Like,
no.
And they never got back in the game. Like, they never got back in the game. The Boise State scored 3 touchdowns on their next 3 possessions, and by the time you look up, it's 31-6. And it's like, okay. Now look, if you're talking about what went wrong for UTEP, like besides everything, one of the things that really stunk, their punting situation is bad. Their punting situation's bad. Boise State's average starting field position was their own 37. You cannot give them that sort of head start. The punting was bad. I know
Especially when
seems
that's
like
your
a small
job.
thing.
Like that.
Seems like a small thing, but it is. That was one thing that certainly caught my eye. I thought the offense was, I don't know, fair. Gavin Hardison, I thought, was okay in this one. 214 yards. He did throw 3 picks. But
they needed that defense to do just anything.
But there was
nothing.
There was no running game too. Like there was no running game, and that's what really cratered them. The passing game was. The running game was, and a lot of it was buoyed by a couple of big plays to Jacob Cowing, but the running game was bad in this one, and that's between that, the defense really just kind of didn't have an answer, especially to the passing game for Boise State. They give up how much did they throw for? 301 and 2 touchdowns. I don't know. It was a disappointing fall back to earth for Boise State, or for UTEP.
I was like, not for Boise.
No, Boise felt pretty good.
They felt pretty good.
What's next, Pickle?
Let's talk about one of the teams that actually left the weekend happy, and that was UTSA. The question was Sincere McCormick over/under on 149.5 rushing yards. You said yes on this one.
I said over.
You said over.
And he ran for. Where is it? There's no way that's right. Did I have that right? Oh my gosh.
I can tell you that UTSA shut out Lamar 54-0.
Yes.
For anyone who didn't see the
results.
results
Yeah, if you didn't see that, let me make sure I pull up their. No, Sincere only ran for 40. That's right. He only ran 46 yards.
Yeah.
He only ran 46 yards. He only carried the ball 7 times. Yeah. And then they pulled him. Yeah. I mean, no notes for UTSA. They did what they should do against an FCS team. They drilled Lamar. Good job. The under hit. Oh, well. What's next, Pickle?
Up next.
And a part of that, by the way, I'm sorry to interrupt. A part of that reason is because, again, UTSA's starting field position was their own 37. Like that was their average starting field position.
But punting is not good.
What's next?
Up next, what is Texas State's biggest concern heading forward? Well, dub.
I mean, they got a win.
A win is a win.
Wins are wins, and
23-17
ask
over
Texas
FIU.
if they would like an ugly win,
yeah.
Right? So I would say that their biggest concern right now is.
I know Ish said.
Well, part
Brady
of it is
McBride.
now Jaron Morris is out. What'd you say?
Ish said Brady McBride.
Brady McBride was not awesome in this game, and the offense was not awesome in this game.
Just inconsistent.
They ran the ball actually relatively well, I thought. McBride and then Calvin Hill ran the ball well. Brock Sturgis ran for kind of vultured 2 touchdowns in this game. I would say it's twofold. One is they've got to get more from the passing game. Passing game is kind of holding them down, holding them back right now.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing that I would say is their pass defense has got to get a little bit better. And losing Jaron Morris, it sounds like, for the year is certainly not going to help that. A win's a win. You take it. But for Texas State, there are certainly a few red flags that I'm a little bit concerned about. So there you go. What's next, Pickle?
Well, here's a question that almost happened. Is this a letdown game for Texas Tech? And SFA almost had their number.
I told y'all.
Final 28-22 on that.
28-22. SFA's throwing into the end zone in the final play, basically.
Mm-hmm.
And, look, I will say this. I think the Tech defense is pretty clearly better. One of those touchdowns was a pick 6. For SFA.
Mm-hmm.
So the defense, I think, is pretty clearly taking a step forward, but there's still obviously a lot to work on offensively. And Tyler Shuck has got to be better.
Mm-hmm.
They were without, their Sir Roderick Thompson, so they went to Taj Boyd again, but they were not able to get a ton going on there, and plain and simple, they turn the ball over too much. They've got to be cleaner. But again, this is the week where we relish in ugly wins.
Yep.
Ugly wins are ugly wins, and so Tech gets an ugly win. What's next, Pickle?
Another slightly ugly win was TCU over Cal, who will get the most carries for TCU on Saturday, and I think our helmet stickers answered.
I think we nailed it.
Yep.
Zach Evans got the most carries for them. Is that right? Did he have more carries than Max Duggan? That's kind of the question.
He
He had 21 carries, Max Duggan had 16.
Okay, yeah, final score on that one was 34-32.
34-32. And thank goodness, because the running game was what really kind of buoyed them, you know? Now, I think, the passing game was just kind of there. Like, Max Duggan threw for 3. Again, the numbers are impressive, 228 and 3 touchdowns. But I think that the real difference maker in this game was the running game with Zach Evans, who was, I think, pretty clearly the best player on the field. Max Duggan's probably second. You know what I mean?
I was fixing to say, it's like we talked about that a lot last year. Max Duggan is good for what you need him to do, but it's like you can't ask him to go out there and do everything, and it looks like maybe they're finally starting to figure that out.
Here's what's a little bit concerning is Cal was able to hit like 5 really explosive plays, and Cal stinks at throwing the ball. Like, they stink. And so that's a little bit concerning, especially considering there are going to be other teams that are on TCU's schedule that can throw the ball a lot better. But again, ugly wins are still win. The Solid Verbal, which is an excellent podcast, is fond of saying win your clunkers.
Yep.
Right? TCU put out a clunker, especially defensively.
Yes.
Especially defensively. And they still won. And that, I think, is certainly worth celebrating. So there's that. What's next, Pickle?
Up next, on a scale of 1 to 10, how worried are you about the Baylor offense? And I believe it was said if they flub this one, then the worry gets high. But 66 to 7.
66 to 7.
They got their stuff done.
Everything is good. No notes. Their offensive expected points, their EPA was 41.2, which is crazy. They were able to do a little bit of everything against Texas Southern. They were able to get Gary Bohannon going. They were able to get Abram Smith and Tristan Ebner going. They had 3 guys run for more than 100 yards in this game. What was their total yardage? 737. Now, look, let's not go crazy. Texas Southern hasn't won a game on the field since 2018.
This is a data trap game.
This is not just a bad FCS team. This is a very bad FCS team. But you know what? If the question was, how worried are you about the Baylor offense? I have certainly downgraded my worry because they looked like against the team that they should dominate, they went out there and dominated offensively. What's next, Pickle?
On the topic of ugly wins, is this a trap game for Texas A&M?
The ugliest of wins.
Score of 10 to 7. It was huge.
And this is weird because, like, so this is a weird thing because I don't know if it's a trap game. How much do you put into the fact of Haynes King getting hurt?
Yeah.
Now, look, here's the thing. Zach Calzada, bad in this game. And I know he got better as the game went on. He made a couple of big boy throws in the fourth quarter, including the game-winning touchdown pass. But let's be real about this. Zach Calzada was not good in this game.
No.
He was not. And he has to be better against much better teams in Colorado because it sounds like Haynes King's going to be out at least until the middle of October. And by the way, then he's coming back from a fractured ankle, a fractured tibia. So, like, I mean, he may not be 100% right away. Now, give a ton of credit to the defense. The defense was spectacular.
Yes,
and
they were.
Almost single-handedly won this game for A&M. They are ferocious. They are as advertised. That defense is legit. I am a little surprised that they did not give the ball more to neither Devon Achan or Isaiah Spiller had more than 10 carries. They had combined 17 carries on the game. I don't get that, especially when your starting quarterback goes down.
No, I expected the ball to be in their hands the entire time.
But give a lot of credit to the defense, which held them in. There are big questions now moving forward as to what this offense looks like without Haynes King. I think it became pretty apparent why Haynes King won the job. Zach Calzada was thrown into a bad situation, and they won the game. Win your clunkers, but little concerned. I don't know if to answer the question, I don't know if it's a trap game because it's one of those things where if Haynes King stays upright, he stays on the field, A&M probably runs away with it.
Right. Yeah.
But if the offense is suddenly not going to be able to score, they've got bigger issues. So, what's next, Pickle?
And finally here, in a super fun game, the question was, will the neutral site location impact the outcome of Commerce Midwestern State? Again, that was at Choctaw Stadium in Arlington. And maybe.
This game was exceptional. This game was a furious rally from Midwestern State.
To win by 1.
To win 31-30. and in a real upset. The 7th-ranked team goes down. An exceptional win, a 23-point rally to win this game. They took the lead, 25 seconds left on a 5-yard touchdown pass from Dylan Sterling Cole, Spring Westfield, to Sam Hodges. They take the lead with the extra point and win the game. Awfully impressive from them. I don't know if the neutral site location had an impact on this game, but I think it was a cool scene, and I think I'll just say this.
For a banger of a game, it's fun to do that too.
For the Lone Star Conference, this was a huge win for them because they played at a premier facility, and they got a premier game out of it. So that is your college football follow-up. Hey, thanks for watching this clip here on YouTube. If you like this kind of stuff and you want more of it, make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel. And remember, you can watch us live every weekday at noon at TexasFootball.com, Facebook, Twitch, or here on YouTube. And if you want more of the best coverage of football in the state of Texas, check out TexasFootball.com and become a Dave Campbell's Texas Football Insider at TexasFootball.com/subscribe.